National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
Hello, glad you can join us. We start with our story today about the situation in Montreal involving a young girl. We learn more today about the circumstances surrounding the death of the 9-year-old. Her father charged with second-degree murder after the child's body was found in shallow water in a remote area after a frantic search by police. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin is standing by. Jen, what more do we know about this heartbreaking story?
Yeah, the New York State Police said this afternoon that they have received the autopsy result, which showed that Melina Frattolin had died of drowning, asphyxia due to drowning, and that also that the manner of her death was homicide. Now, police are saying these are preliminary findings, that their investigation is continuing, and part of that investigation involves asking for the public's help. They have released images of the car in which the father and daughter were riding in. That is a 2024 Toyota Prius. They want the public to come forward with any information, if they had eyewitness information or perhaps video evidence of seeing the father and daughter along Highway 87 as they were making their way presumably back to Montreal just in the hours before the death of the little girl. There's a lot of this investigation is still underway. We're here at the courthouse here in Montreal, where we were looking through the legal documents, and there are piles of legal documents, Sandy, detailing some of the financial troubles in which the suspect, Luciano Frattolin, is involved in, credit card debt, as well as legal feuds with some of his business associates.
Now, Jen, I understand that there is something planned for this evening for those who want to pay their respects to Melina.
Absolutely, Sandy. So many people in the communities around the area where her body was found are saying that they're so touched by what has happened. They're shocked by the events, and they want to honor her memory. So the people of these two small towns, Scroon Lake and Ticonderoga, are having vigils, candlelight vigils tonight in her memory.
Okay. Jen, thank you as always. CTV Geneviève Beauchemin in Montreal. Well, a big day with a lot at stake as the Prime Minister sorts through the trade chaos to brief the premiers who are meeting in Ontario's cottage country on the state of U.S.-Canada talks. Now, this with a deadline to reach a deal just 10 days away, the same day that Donald Trump is threatening to boost the tariff on Canadian goods to 35%. CTV's Rachel Aiello is in Huntsville. Okay, Rachel, what did the premiers hear from the Prime Minister, and how did it go over?
Hey, Sandy. Premiers said they had a good discussion with the Prime Minister and learned more about the ongoing negotiations with the United States. But with there being two sides to any deal, Mark Carney also made it clear that provinces and territories need to do what they can at home. Prime Minister Mark Carney was in good spirits as he arrived on scene for today's talks. But quickly, he got down to business.
We are looking for the best deal for Canada. We're only going to accept the best deal for Canada.
Premiers came in saying they wanted clarity on whether the two countries are on track towards a new trade pact by U.S. President Donald Trump's August 1st deadline, and came out indicating they care less about when a deal is reached, rather what is in it.
It sounds like we're making some progress, making sure that we get the best deal and not just the deal available.
I would be worried that if we constrain ourselves that we have to get a deal by a certain date, that we maybe have to, maybe do some things or give up some things.
Carney met behind closed doors with provincial and territorial leaders for more than 2 hours, telling them that he and senior federal officials are engaged in continuous discussions with the Americans. But the Prime Minister offered no assurances that a good deal for Canada will be reached in the next 10 days, or whether the country is ready to retaliate with counter tariffs.
We'll take stock if there isn't one that works. A good deal is something that preserves, reinforces, and stabilizes those relationships as much as possible. A good deal is also one that doesn't tie our hands.
Premiers then took part in a strategy session with former ambassadors to the U.S. about next steps.
There's one thing we can thank President Trump for, is getting us moving, getting us united like I've never seen before.
The Prime Minister and Premiers also discussed ways to build new trade relationships with trusted partners beyond the U.S. and ways to support affected industries should tariffs linger. Sandy?
Okay, Rachel, thank you. Now, trade talks aside, Donald Trump has been calling Canadians mean and nasty for boycotting U.S. products. Well, now his ambassador, Pete Hoekstra, says Canada's approach doesn't contribute to a positive relationship between the two countries. CTV's Abigail Beeman now on reaction and what it means to the future of Canada's relationship with the Americans. Abigail.
Sandy, the ambassador referenced steps many Canadians are proud of taking patriotically, vacationing in Canada and avoiding American alcohol. And his comments have at least one Canadian premier calling for our country to double down.
There are reasons why the president and some of his team refer to Canada as being mean and nasty to deal with.
Speaking at the Pacific Northwest Economic Region Summit Monday, U.S. Ambassador to Canada Pete Hoekstra offered these examples.
Canadians staying home, that's their business. You know, I don't like it, but if that's what they want to do, it's fine. You want to ban American alcohol, that's fine. It doesn't necessarily send real positive signals in terms of they're treating us well.
Then offered a line that got a laugh about his own cross-border business.
I can get alcohol across the border if I wanted to, because we go back and forth to Michigan and they don't check my car when I come back. Okay?
If you're a mean and nasty Canadian for standing up for our sovereignty and our economy and our jobs, well, I think most Canadians would be proud to be considered mean and nasty.
The audio was received by and released from BC's Premier's office. David Eby is calling on Canadians to keep it up, keep buying Canadian and vacationing in Canada.
I think it's interesting that Americans have a hard time understanding why Canadians are so angry at their president's suggestion that our sovereignty is at risk.
I'm pretty shocked. I find it very ironic. President Trump is calling us mean.
One former Canadian ambassador to the U.S. says the pot is calling the kettle black.
Leave the ambassador out of it. The president says this over and over again. He's constantly calling us nasty and terrible negotiators and everything else. The United States is one of the most protectionist companies in the world.
Frank McKenna stressed the overall optimistic and positive tone from Ambassador Hoekstra. So too did the U.S. Embassy, telling CTV News in a statement the ambassador spoke for nearly an hour and emphasized his optimism about the future of the Canada-U.S. relationship. Sandy.
Abigail Beeman, thank you so much, Abigail. Okay, let's bring in CTV's chief political correspondent, Vassy Kapelas. And Vassy, you know, the U.S. ambassador to Canada, as we just heard, sounding optimistic. But he did say that boycotts are certainly one of the reasons that Trump isn't happy with Canada. So how do you see that? Is that a not so subtle message?
Yeah, Trump is always so subtle about these things, Sandy. I see it a couple of different ways. The first is, look, for the provinces that decided to do this, this was kind of the point, right? To get the president's attention and to show him and send a message that we weren't going to take his attacks kind of laying back. At the same time, I think it is important to remember the context here, that there are things like this that do get under President Trump's skin, and that he is not against upending relationships with countries or entire trade deals because of kind of what we would consider small irritants. So I think that we should take it seriously while also acknowledging this was the intent.
Okay, now at the same time, we've got that August 1st deadline closing in. We heard from the Prime Minister today. He really didn't say much, although it sounds like he's hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. What do you think? What did you come away with?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I actually really took note of the Prime Minister's answers. He kept getting questions from reporters about whether there would be a deal, because last year he said last week, a good deal for Canada was not yet on the table. He got questions about retaliation. He got questions about what level of tariffs Canada is willing to accept. And on each and every instance, he pivoted away from directly answering those questions and instead talked about what Canada can do on the domestic front. He is holding those cards very close to his chest in the last final days before that deadline hits, which leaves Canadians guessing as to what will happen. Sandy.
Okay, as always, Vassy, thanks so much. Well, yesterday it was Stellantis. Today, another auto giant, this time General Motors, is blaming Donald Trump and his tariffs for declining revenues. GM's second quarter core profit fell by 32% as tariffs took $1.1 billion out of earnings. GM says it expects to be hit even harder in the third quarter, leading to a possible loss of $4 or $5 billion. Now, just yesterday, Stellantis reported a loss of $480 million, with the full year impact anticipated to be as much as $2.4 billion. And a new report reveals that taxes are the biggest expense for Canadian families these days, up more than 2,700% since 1961. The information comes to us from the Fraser Institute. The average Canadian family spends more on taxes than housing, food, and clothing combined. In 2024, we are talking about $48,000. The music world reeling at news of the death of the energetic and controversial Ozzy Osbourne, who rose to fame in the 1970s as the frontman for Black Sabbath. His famous family asking for privacy after confirming the patriarch was gone. Just 3 weeks ago, he played in Black Sabbath's farewell gig in his hometown of Birmingham, England. CTV's Heather Wright takes us back over the life of this extraordinary performer.
The godfather of heavy metal, the Prince of Darkness. Ozzy Osbourne was a showman, a singer, and later a reality TV star who rose to fame in the 1970s as the frontman of Black Sabbath. Known for his iconic wail, Osbourne was an icon of the heavy metal genre he helped pioneer. Today, the Osbourne family said in a statement, "It is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with his family and surrounded by love." Born John Michael Osbourne in Birmingham, England, Osbourne recorded more than half a dozen albums with Black Sabbath, including hits like Paranoid and War Pigs. But by 1979, his struggles with substance abuse were so severe, he was fired by the band. Mama, I'm coming home. Osbourne went on to have a successful solo career and was later inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, with both Black Sabbath and as a solo artist. Both beloved and controversial, Osbourne once bit off the head of a bat while on stage and was arrested for trying to strangle his wife while drunk. He later reconciled with his wife Sharon and became a reality TV dad to a whole new generation in the show The Osbournes, along with 2 of his 5 children, Jack and Kelly. In 2020, Osbourne announced he had Parkinson's disease and, despite his health challenges, tried many times to return to the stage. Just weeks ago, he performed from a black throne on stage with Black Sabbath in his hometown of Birmingham. It was his first show in 20 years with the original band members, and it would be the last of his legendary life. Heather Wright, CTV News.
Coming up after the break, a new chapter in the Jeffrey Epstein saga.
I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt.
What the U.S. Justice Department hopes the meeting behind bars will reveal. Donald Trump is facing new scrutiny over his ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And now the U.S. Justice Department is asked to meet with Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. She was found guilty of conspiring with and aiding Epstein in his abuse of underage girls. The DOJ announcement got Donald Trump talking again about a lot of things. This is where we bring in CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon. Okay, Joy, what did he have to say today?
Oh, Sandy called this the summer of conspiracy. The president is facing ever more questions about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Political Washington is just consumed by it. The Justice Department plans to meet with Ghislaine Maxwell within days to find out what she knows. She's serving 20 years in prison for sex trafficking young girls for Epstein and is appealing her sentence. But when asked about it, Trump once again tried to shift focus away.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do. I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold.
Okay, now what about that, Joy? Let's pick up on that. Why is Donald Trump saying things about Barack Obama? The former president has been out of office for 8 years. What triggered that?
Yeah, that went downhill fast. The president went on a rant urging the Justice Department to prosecute his political rivals, including the former President Barack Obama. Now, he's alleging that Obama committed treason and sedition. He's lobbying serious charges. I mean, treason is punishable by death. Now, Trump repeated these false claims about the Russia investigation and Moscow's attempt to interfere in U.S. elections. Trump is accusing Obama of leading a coup with no evidence to back it up. Have a listen.
The leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined.
Sandy, Obama's office said they don't normally dignify these outrageous claims, calling it, quote, a ridiculous, weak attempt at distraction. Sandy.
Okay, Joy, thank you. A disturbing video showing a violent arrest in Florida has surfaced online, sparking questions about the actions of police.
Exit the vehicle now. Exit the vehicle. Show me your hands. Here.
22-year-old William McNeil recorded this video back in February when he was pulled over for his headlights being off. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office has now released body cam footage of the arrest after McNeil's video went viral.
Give me your driver's license, registration, proof of insurance. No, call your supervisor.
An officer is heard arguing with McNeil, who then locks himself inside the car as he's repeatedly asked to step out. A police report on the arrest says McNeil was reaching for a knife.
One video clip, devoid of context, can be very misleading. Yes, there absolutely was force used by the arresting officers, and yes, that force is ugly. And just because force is ugly does not mean it's unlawful.
The young man says the incident left him with a chipped tooth and 9 stitches. The sheriff insists none of the officers violated criminal law, but an administrative review, of course, is underway. Still ahead, hazards of the haze, the growing health risks of wildfire smoke choking parts of Canada. Residents of the village of Jasper, Alberta came together today to mark 1 year since 25,000 people were forced to flee the smoke and flames of a rampaging wildfire in which a firefighter was killed.
Recovery is ongoing. There is still much work to do, yet Jasper is here.
Jasper's beauty and spirit have always inspired, and they will continue to do so.
About a third of the Rocky Mountain community was incinerated after several wildfires converged. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith recently condemned an independent report that criticizes the provincial response to the wildfires. The mayor of Jasper says he stands by the report, insisting it wasn't meant to become, quote, a political instrument. Now, smoke from wildfires in Saskatchewan is putting much of that province under air quality warnings. There are nearly 50 fires burning, and many of them are still not under control. CTV's Alison Bamford is in Saskatoon, where the smoke is especially bad today. Hi, Alison.
Sandy, this is what a 10 plus on the Air Quality Health Index looks like, and that's the highest rating there can be on the scale. The views behind me, well, they are a little duller, and the air thick with smoke. Much of Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and parts of northeastern Ontario are under air quality warnings and advisories. Here in Saskatoon, the Air Quality Health Index has been hovering around the 10+ mark, or very high risk, since yesterday afternoon. A similar story in other parts of the province, where the smoke is expected to linger for the next couple of days. Experts say children, older adults, and those with heart and lung issues should avoid strenuous outdoor activities. The rest of the population is advised to reduce or reschedule these types of activities, especially if they get a cough or irritated throat. But the smoke isn't keeping everyone inside. We spoke to one woman who still went on her daily bike ride this morning, and others told us they are digging out their reusable masks from the pandemic for an added layer of protection.
Oh, honestly, it makes me feel like I have a cold all the time. Like it's hard to breathe. I get a runny nose. Generally unpleasant being outside.
I have asthma, so it's like
extra yucky and like, I don't know, just gross tight chest, phlegmy, all the gross stuff.
Further north in some communities, the smoke is a bigger concern than the wildfires burning nearby. It's prompted evacuations in Isle-la-Crosse and La Loche. Right now, the priority is getting high-risk individuals and patients in long-term care out of the area. Sandy?
Alison Bamford, thank you. As we go to break, a royal birthday is being celebrated as Prince George turns 12. William and Kate, the Prince and Princess of Wales, marked the occasion by sharing new images and the short video of George with his younger siblings, Charlotte and Louis. It is unknown if George will now have to follow royal protocol of father and son not traveling together to protect the safety of the royals. It was put in place when William, his dad, turned 12. Well, we can't get enough of Ozzy Osbourne, so let's take another look back at the remarkable life of a trailblazer known as the Prince of Darkness. Osbourne and Black Sabbath just 3 weeks ago, delighting fans in an emotional farewell performance in Birmingham, England. It's the place where the band came together in 1968. With Osbourne as frontman, Black Sabbath pioneered heavy metal as a music genre. Ozzy later went on to become a television star, playing himself on the Osbournes in the early 2000s. But music, he said, was his first love.
What rock and roll has done for me is you couldn't buy it. I mean, it's changed everything for me. Because like 20 years ago, I was just a nothing person living in a nothing existence.
Osbourne's families of the legendary singer died at the age of 76, surrounded by love. Now, Ozzy Osbourne once told a reporter how he thought he'd be remembered, and we quote, "the man who bit the head off a bat." On that note, we thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Local news is coming up. See you tomorrow.